I was lucky enough to chat with the amazing Wend Parr, a world-renowned vocal coach, award-winning songwriter, and top holistic artist development coach. Wendy has coached artists like Sarah Bareilles and Regina Spektor, and she's a Grammy-awarded songwriter. I asked her how songwriters can tap into their authentic voice to elevate their songwriting skills, and she came back to me with some of the most real and thought-inspiring answers. I honestly think the next 10 minutes could change the way you think about how you write songs by giving you ways to reconnect with your authentic self. And it might even give you the clarity you need to kill the perfectionist and reconnect with your artistic instinct.
For anyone who's listening, it's like, okay, you're saying be yourself. How? That's like telling someone let go. I'm like, how?
Let's get
right?
into that. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think it's essential. Like, I mean, as a human, but for sure as an artist, like the more you know yourself, the more you can make choices that suit you. And then your life is going in a way that's like, hey, I enjoyed my day. I enjoy my day. I enjoy what I'm doing. I enjoy the people I'm with. I like what I have to say. Like, so Alec Chambers, he's an artist I work with. He took, we work privately one-on-one, and he also took my Compass course, which is the authentic branding course for professionals. So it's really diving into childhood heroes and archetypes. And again, it's the who am I?
Yeah.
And he left me the most beautiful message recently. And he's like, Wendy, I'm doing it. He's like, I get what you were teaching me. Like all the stuff you showed me, like I'm putting it all in action. He's like, I just show up being myself every day. Just show up and like say what it is I want to say. I'm not hiding anything. You know, his social media content, his lyrical content for his songs, his musical sound, it's all aligned with him now because we went through this process of questions, right? And he started talking about mental health. He started openly talking about his stutter, which he never did before. Like, yep, I have a stutter. I struggled with this. And now he's sharing all about that about himself, and of course his audience connects with him. His audience resonates with his experience and his truth. His first single is called Dark Can Be Beautiful. He's talking about like his inner struggles and his mental health, and again, who doesn't relate to having those moments, or a lot of them, right? So he's struggling less with just how he shows up, being more relaxed to just, yeah, I'm telling my story, I'm telling my truths. And then his music is shifted more and more strongly into his own sound. As we went sound chart is a process that I do. It's a 3-step process to help the artist distill their sound down to a recipe on paper. So from like message and the sonic and the genre to specific instrumentation, all on paper, like a cooking recipe. Like these are all my ingredients. Now go in the studio and start bringing it to life. Yeah. Right. Like you've got dark and edgy, and you're like, okay, is the vocal edgy in this song, or is it the synth? Like, where's the edge? And when you start creating your music, you have this recipe to reflect to. So when it's like, we're not quite there. What's missing? You can look at it and be like, oh, you know what? This song, I'd love this element in the song. I think that's what's missing. And again, that recipe, it's not mine. It's the artist discovering themselves, like finding, you know what? I forgot how much I love this style of music, and I stopped doing that because someone told me, or I kind of thought I outgrew it, or and you just start bringing little elements of stuff that you used to love when you were 16 years old, or there's lyrical content. I had one artist from China. She said, I have a whole record, like the whole record that's finished. They're waiting for me to like say yes, and she's like, and I've just been so reluctant. And then after taking Compass, she's like, I realized I'm writing lyrics that match the culture of what's out there right now. Girls should be cute and da da da. She said, but really that's not what I want to say. I want to encourage women in China and girls to be like individual and to be strong and to follow their hearts. She's like, I love the songs. I need to rewrite the lyrics.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and what kind of is there any kind of blocks you see kind of reoccurring with artists? Where they go through, nearly every artist kind of hits this block at some point,
Absolutely. So the first course and the first session I do with every artist, which I now have as a course, is called Blueprint. Before we sing, we do a little singing in the first session for sure. Like, let me hear your voice. Let me show you, make some adjustments. I'm going to show you where we go vocally. So in that first session, people are aware of like, oh, wow, I didn't know my voice could do that. I'm like, that's what we're going to work on vocally, right? But the first session is primarily a conversation. And it's because every artist struggles with, I'm not good enough.
Yeah.
Every human.
Yeah.
For me, in all my years of coaching, I'm not worthy, like I'm not good enough is a human, it's a fallacy. It's not, it's definitely not true, but everyone believes it a little
Yeah.
to a lot.
I think it's very pronounced with artists as well.
Yes, agreed. And when I talk to management, when I talk to labels, A&R guy told me, like, he works with all the top artists. He's like, this is the number one struggle is their confidence not feeling good enough. Like, you're talking about very successful artists. They're already successful. And even with that success, they don't feel good enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And we could talk about the why, we could talk about religion. We could talk about ages 1 to 5 in some way without malice, usually, right? You're just told, be quiet, sit still, less of this, no, no, no. Go to school, and usually you're told like you get A's at everything and you're a good student. That's not true.
Yeah. The
And it leaves a
prescribed
lot of
path.
people not feeling good.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a big thing. We kind of have this kind of cookie cutter kind of social structure that we're kind of forced into, and especially like people like artists that need to express themselves in different ways. It's painful to go through that.
Yes. And if you grow up in a town where maybe football is the big thing and you're a creative, you feel like an outsider.
Yeah,
You
that's
just need
me.
to go to, okay, there you go. And you just need to find your people, which thanks to the internet, we can find them from home. But sometimes it's, oh, I needed to move to New York City, or I needed to move to this town to find out, like, oh, no, I'm weird like all these people. We're all the same kind of wonderful weird, So that can just be a cultural thing and where you grow up. And so that's the number one thing that we address first is like, let's look at why you love what you're doing, what you love about music, and then what's getting in the way of that. So we can burn those ideas. Like we're going to really, what I help lead you to see is like how false they all are. But it's a process, right? I can't just tell you, oh, that's not true. That's not going to
Yeah,
change your belief.
they have to
So
realize it for themselves, really.
yeah.
Yeah.
And that class and that session is really about letting go of the things that are blocking and stopping you, the beliefs and the ideas. And so we examine them, we're going to look at them, and then really looking at why you love what you do and making those the like guiding, for everything. Like, oh, every time I'm doing something, this is my focus.
Yeah.
And oh, this is what pulls me out. So let me bring my focus back to like what I'm doing and why. And then we can move through the challenges with that personal alignment.
Can you give some kind of, what can people do, kind of immediately to, identify their blocks and maybe start connecting with that authentic voice?
Sure. So I'll talk about the authentic part, and I want to talk about a songwriting moment. So the first thing is, we all know our inner voice. It's, it can be the one you ignore. It can be the one you override. It can be the one that you jump into your brain and come up with all the other reasons. But just starting to practice, especially in the small ways, following that inner voice. Like when you get an impulse to do something, do it. And the small ones matter. Like literally, what do I feel like for dinner tonight? You're like, oh, I really want sushi. And then you kind of settle on something else. Or if you practice in the little ones, like the low stakes, what do you want for dinner? Let's get that. I discovered like tea, or I drink herbal tea and I make all kinds of mixes. I'm a happier person if I drink tea all day. And oh, I realized that. Okay, great. That's why I now have a cupboard of herbs and teas. And I make sure that like I got my electric kettle, and I'm like, oh, if I drink tea, I make sure I have a thermos I take with me everywhere. Because I'm like, oh, I just feel better if I drink tea. So I'm going to support that and make sure I have what I need. So I have my tea and my honey sticks. And, so start asking yourself like what you really want and giving it to yourself. And if you practice in the low stakes, you'll start doing it in the higher stakes.
Great. Yeah, I like that.
And in listening to that voice for songwriting, it's really about telling your truth. So if you look at any song you've written, here's an exercise you can do. You take the page, and here's the song on the left side. There's the lyrics I've written. And for every lyric on the right side, write what you were talking about. Sometimes it might help if you dictate it. I do better if I speak than try to type the idea out. But like, okay, by that line, what did you mean? Well, I meant XYZ. I was talking about this, and then when this happened, and this is what it made me feel. Do that for every single line of a song you've written. The right side of the page is the song. that's the truth.
Yeah.
This was the clever songwriting version. This is your actual truth on the right. Now use that side to make the lyrics. The rhymes can come later, the clever writing, but like tell the truth. Like that's one of the things I really find a lot with songwriters, and is trying to write a smart song, a cool song, a hit song, a clever song. But we need the truth first and foremost. Clever can come later. Clever comes the more you write songs, you get better at writing good songs. But the truth is so much more important than the rhyme.
Yeah, I think I found that myself. You know, it's, for me, the starting point is always, no matter where the idea comes from, it's okay, what am I writing about? What am I saying?
Yeah.
You know, and like, you know, because I've done a lot of different kind of writing as well, like script writing and stuff like that. So I know from experience that a lot of other writers in a lot of other fields will start with the, you know, the brain dump, the emotion dump, and they get it all down. Then they worry about, you know, making it sound good.
Yeah, be clever. How do you say this in a cool way can come, but how do I say this? This is what matters. So
Yeah.
that's a really good exercise on any song, is put it over here and then make that the lyric, make that the story, get it clever in draft 4 and 5.
Yeah,
But
draft
this is what
1
it's really
should
about.
be pouring your heart out. Absolutely.
Yeah. And Dean Pitchford, who's a phenomenal songwriter, and he wrote Footloose. He wrote one of my favorite Whitney Houston songs, All the Man That I Need. He wrote, oh gosh, what others? I'm going to blank now. He wrote Fame. Yeah.
Great.
And he said he labels his first draft of anything shitty draft number 1.
I think burn draft is the industry.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just knowing that, oh, it's a draft. Also, just calling it a draft.
Yes.
Like instead of trying to
It's
make a
not
finish.
your last will and testament, it's a draft.
Right.
Yeah.
Because you're going to
absolutely.
keep exploring and tweaking, and maybe even in the studio when you're singing it, you realize, okay, singer me needs to tell writer me, this is a mouthful. There's too many syllables here. This isn't nice to sing. We got to change these words.
Yeah, yeah.
Singer you has to inform writer you of that. Right? Oh, this is feeling weird. Let's change this. Because you have to now interpret your song, not sing it right. Don't sing your song to present the song. Don't sing your song showing and teaching the audience the song. Sing it as an artist now. Make it yours. Make it yours as the singer. How does this feel? And then again, you're going to tell you, the writer, some adjustments that need to happen.
Wendy has put her decades of experience and knowledge into 4 online courses. I've put a link in the pinned comment below so you can check them out and let your authentic artistic instinct take your songwriting to the next level.